Sanderson comes from a great bloodline of goalies. If you watch our ESPN2 coverage of major indoor lacrosse, you know Bill Geary won 2 championships with the Buffalo team. Well, this is his son, and he has learned to be a goalie. Had to make an adjustment, though, Quint, from the indoor style to the field style, and that's been tough. Warner Kruger now trying to get that first important possession. Kruger, number 40, they give it up. Here comes Virginia on the run. They love to run. They're dropping it back in. Get it over to Watson. Back to Whiteley. He's the quarterback. Back out front for the shot, and they could not connect with the crashing defensive long pole, and Chris Ginter came down from the faceoff looking for a shot.
That is textbook Virginia. They get the ball in the middle of the field, get it to the offense as quickly as possible, behind the cage to Whiteley, and then they love to hit the cutters filling the center of the field. It's called a 5-on-4, and no one does it better.
Temperature ideal for lacrosse, 61 degrees, just perfect temperature-wise. No wind to speak of, cool and cloudy. Really ideal conditions. You're not under any duress at all weather-wise. Hopkins now with possession, and they weather the first fast break, and now you'll see a controlled tempo. Quint, they'll do a number of things to really put some minutes on the board.
They will take the short stick defenders, which there are 2 of them, and they will position those players behind the cage. They'll force those players to play in an area of the field that they're not particularly comfortable.
Billy Evans now going against Melchione. And the ball goes out of bounds. Great check by Melchione. Evans is the guy they like to go to when they need the big goal. Keep an eye on 28. You just saw him with the ball. We'll see him later on. Virginia now looking for the fast break. Getting a little bit of room, but watch out. Kearney with a big hit. First big hit laid by Hopkins. Tremendous job. Todd Kearney came up and with a big possession at stake, laid on the leather.
Todd Kearney adds a little physical intimidation to the Hopkins defense. Not a very big defense. Marr comes in and gets a goal. They say no, he was in the crease. Smith played it well. Marr showing great strength. And what strikes me on that one, Quint, is that was an easy save for Sanderson. They didn't have much of an angle, and he did not make it. You'll have a great angle right here. Tommy Smith has the size advantage over Marr, but Marr leans in. Didn't see him step in the crease before the ball goes. You'll get a better look right here. I don't think he steps on the line. Right there, he's in the air. The ball's past the end line. You can see right there, did not step on the line or inside the crease. That's Tommy Smith's foot that the referee thought was Marr's.
Well, we saw the crease be a big factor in the first game and not to Syracuse's advantage, so it's already a factor here helping out Virginia. Sanderson, the only reason that was a good shot was because Sanderson's a left-handed goalie. There's a little bit of space to the right, but if a goalie's comfortable, that's a pretty easy snuff. There really is no angle. You know where the stick and the ball's going. Sanderson a little rocky early on. Marr taking it right to the cooker, and Quint, that's some of the pressure they want to put on Sanderson. Meanwhile, Marcus comes up big with his first save. Easy save for him. And I think if you want to characterize Marcus' effectiveness, he likes to go low. He makes those low saves look very easy.
And that is not the shot you want if you're a fan of Virginia lacrosse. Henry Oakey just giving Marr all sorts of confidence from 15 yards with an easy short hop save. You got to look out. Marcus, when he gets hot, he's on fire. When he's cold, we've seen him let in 5 or 6 goals without making a save.
Definitely a streaky goalie, but he has been on fire the last few weeks. As Tony Seaman said, he's really been a key player to get this team into the playoffs. Now Hopkins controlling behind. O'Kelly had it. Now they give it off to Kruger. Kruger had 3 goals last. That was half of his offensive output for the year. It all came against Maryland in a critical game.
Kruger, not only will he face off, he stays on the field to play offense and defense. You've got to wonder late stages of this ball game whether his legs are going to go out on him, because this Virginia team's going to put an awful lot of pressure on him.
Now Kruger again looking for a little advantage against the short stick defense of Oakey. And they get it out to the wing, taking their time. Kelly again with the ball. Now he's going against David Wren. Gets a little step on, comes in, the slide comes over, they get it out front, couldn't connect. It was open if they could just get it to Denahan. Denahan, good-sized freshman at 6'1", was up top of that backside, could not pull it down. He had an open shot.
That's exactly the offense that Tony Seaman wants right there. O'Kelly operates behind, very conservative, until the Virginia midfielder fell. And next thing you know, they have a little advantage. Unfortunately, O'Kelly could not find the freshman dynamic Dan Denahan on the far side. That's an opportunity that Hopkins will need to capitalize on.
Brad Hoig brings it in. Hoig, a defensive specialist in the midfield area, a great athlete. Considered playing football, actually, and went to the Virginia program, thought it was a little bit too much of an investment time-wise, and went into lacrosse, another sport that he loves so much.
Little zone defense right now by Hopkins.
Watson, the big shooter, working from behind the goal, setting up, looking for a feed across the crease. Now he gives it back to teammate Leahy. And Timmy Whiteley, who's usually the quarterback, is being shut off by the Hopkins player. Doing a great job on him right now. Lassira's got him, and he's just shutting him off. So Whiteley being taken away as the captain, the controlling influence in the Virginia offense. He's just out of the picture right now.
I think it's a pretty smart strategy for Dave Petramala and the Hopkins defensive coaching staff. Take away Tim Whiteley. He's the guy who sets up all the other players. Without Whiteley, theoretically, there aren't as many feeders.
Watson comes in. He's got the first goal of the game. The great shooter Watson. As soon as Whiteley was taken out, Watson went down low. He had to dodge 2 players to get that shot off, and just barely had enough room as he readjusts his pad to get this one off, finds the corner.
Watch the incredible guts by Watson. First of all, taking it right to the heart of the defense. Watch the ball control right there, reaching around Marcus. That is a serious effort by Michael Watson. Here it is again. Little face dodge, straight to the pipe, launches himself, and manages to scoot that ball past Jonathan Marcus.
Quentin Kesenick, playing currently for Team Toyota, had a chance to face Watson just 2 weeks ago as they tuned up for these playoffs. You've seen that rocket shot of his. Not a pretty sight as a goalie.
Now, the 2 things Watson does well. From the outside, he's so accurate. Not the fastest shot, but he really can get his shot within an inch or 2 of where he wants it. And from the inside, when he comes straight at you on that last dive shot, it's very deceptive, tough to follow the ball in the head of his stick.
Ruger coming in. This is where he got a little bit of open space his last game. The check from behind to save goalie on that spot was Chris Ginter. Chris Ginter's check saved Sanderson from making the big block. Ball back down. Now Whiteley does get it in his stick, and they try to put some pressure on him. Van Horn. Now are we seeing a little bit of a zone from Hopkins?
I think we're going to see a lot of zone for Hopkins. Virginia this year scored a lot of goals. They had problems against the zone defense.
Big block. You know, they were very effective cutting Whiteley off, and right away after the first goal, they go now into a zone. Dave Petramala, a great defenseman that played when Quint was here in '89. Kind of calling out the defensive signals as the defensive coach for Hopkins. And here come the Blue Jays. They're down by 1. Gagliardi, number 43, brings it up. He is a transfer from Virginia, so he knows that team as well. Marchant, the great speedster, now with a short stick against him. This is a nice matchup for them. Marchant gets tripled, doesn't give it up, and that causes the ball to come out. A lot of attention on Milford Marchant. Hopkins staying with it, but look at the stick checks of an underrated defense of Virginia, and I think that's one of the points we should make, Quint. This is a team that really gets a lot of focus on the offensive end. Their defense is pretty solid, better than most people think.
Watch the stick work. Darren Mahoney right here reaching around Godfrey, making the check on the near side, and then he reaches and gets him in the elbow. Mahoney didn't start the full season. He's a guy that Starsia really gave the starting position to halfway through this year, and Mahoney is a real solid defenseman to go along with the checkers, Tommy Smith and Carl Zeller. I like Mahoney a lot. I think he does a fantastic job.
Now Virginia looks a little more comfortable. They've got Whiteley behind. They give it to him and set up their set. This is Miller out front, back to Whiteley, now to the wing. They're working it out to an open shot by Oki. Oki rockets this one low, and again, the low shot, a comfortable save for Marcus.
And if there's one weakness in the Virginia offense, I think it's a devastating outside shooter. Doug Knight, Tim Whiteley, and Watson all have excellent shots within 10 yards. But from outside 12, 13, 14 yards, they don't have anyone who can blow it by John Marcus.
Watson's probably has a pretty nice medium range shot. He can really put some smoke on it there. And if you've watched our NCAA finals over the last few years, you remember him beating Syracuse with one of those shots high and away.
Oh, he's deadly from 10 yards, but you put him out around 12 or 13. Marcus has got a decent shot at making that save.
Denahan, a real good-looking freshman who really played sick against Maryland. Shots now you see Virginia has 4 to Hopkins 1, and that's what you might expect. But the score only 1-0, and Hopkins comes in with Denahan beating Sanderson 1-1. And so far, if you're looking for that big game out of Sanderson, not a good sign. Not very many good signs so far.
No, and matchup-wise here, I think Virginia's going to have to switch up. Dan Denahan has been slowed recently by a fever and some strep throat. Here's being covered by Zeller. Look at Zeller get his feet caught on Denahan's feet. Denahan just plants and shoots. Not much angle right there. Taking a look again. Watch the stick protection with his hand, and you'll see Zeller get his feet caught up in Denahan's feet. And Denahan's certainly not afraid to shoot. He's got 25 goals on the season, only a freshman. I would think that Tommy Smith should be playing Denahan, and you put Zeller on the slower mark.
Watson on the wing gets hammered 3 times, no call made. He's going to call 2 fouls there, but they are much closer to it than we are. So good checks by Hopkins, gets it back to them. Marchant with a little bit of room, can't get open. Brand matches up. Far side. And Hopkins gets time to settle things down. Godfrey, one of those heroes right there, number 9, a couple games ago that helped bring this team into this position to get into the semifinals. Godfrey, a big part of the win over Loyola. A win they had to have, many people think, to get into the playoffs.
This is a good matchup for Hopkins. Laverghetta for Virginia, number 10. Not very big. He's about 5'7", 150 pounds. Former attackman at Boys Latin School in Baltimore. Now playing midfield for Virginia.
And Billy Evans, number 28, gives it back to Marr. 28 is a big goal scorer for Hopkins team. Marr right here is the quarterback, a la Whiteley. That shot by Evans just way outside. We're going to show you something about the field. Look at this. When you're clearing the field, you'll hear us talk about it. When you have the ball here and you have to get out of your defensive end, you have 10 seconds to get it out of this zone into the next zone. There. Once you get it into here, Quint, you have all the time you want.
That's right. As soon as you bring the ball over the midfield line, you've got 10 seconds to bring it into the offensive box. In the game earlier today, we saw that call once. We'll see. Keep our eye on it as this action progresses.
So now Hopkins maintains control. They'll be very patient. They're going to value these possessions much more than Virginia. And so far you can see Virginia out-shooting them 5-2 in that area. And Hopkins with 2 goals. That'll be a foul on Virginia, who's being very aggressive. It'll be an extra man play for Hopkins. Another area of the game, Quint, where they really have to make some hay. They've got to get some goals out of their EMO if they're going to stay with Virginia.
Take a look at it. Marr was dragged down by the hook. Still managed to get the feed off. As soon as that ball hits the ground, though, the referees blow the whistle. There's David Marr. He's got the locks. He's had them since his freshman year. I think if he wins the championship, he'll probably shave his head. But Marr's brother played at Hopkins and now coaches at the University of Maryland. Certainly, Virginia can't afford to foul. That's hurt them all year. They have 88 minutes of fouls.
Hopkins now sets up their extra man. They have 6 players against 5 from Virginia. There's a shot in close, but the defense absorbs it, saving Sanderson from having to block that one. Mahoney got in good position. Sanderson, he's the guy that has to be tested today. Has to come up big. This is his first huge game. They had a pretty easy time last week against Harvard, so he hasn't had a close one yet. He's marched toward the finals. Close shot there. Denahan hits the pipe. Marchant picks it up all even now for these teams. 1-1 the score, 5 minutes left in the first quarter.
Penalties are going to be very important, and the Hopkins extra man has got to convert. I mentioned that Virginia has 88 penalty minutes. Compare that to the game we saw earlier today. Princeton only has 23 penalty minutes over the course of the season. So if Hopkins can draw this Virginia defense out, get them to foul them, and then convert on the extra man, that's going to be big. If they don't score on their extra man, I don't think they can win this ball game.
Well, they were 0 on this last extra man, but they did hit the pipe, so they beat Sanderson, just couldn't get it to fall. 1-1 the score, and Quint, I think you have to say without question that Hopkins controls the tempo at this point.
They've got to control the ball. They've got to get the minutes. They need at least a 60-40 advantage in time of possession, and maybe even a 70-30.
Denahan up front, getting good position. Boy, he looks sharp. Easy bounce pass, beats Sanderson. 2 goals for him, and Sanderson is not comfortable. Everything they've thrown at the goal has either missed the goal or gone past Sanderson. 2-1, they lead.
Denahan's had a fabulous season. Midway through the year, he was tearing it up. Coach Tony Seaman's got to be happy about that. Stars, you got to question his matchups defensively. But Denahan, late in the season, when Hopkins needed a win against Loyola, he was covered by Brendan Fry, was not given the green light to go to the cage. And then against Notre Dame, I don't think he was given the green light. This week, he has got the green light, and we've seen 2 goals. That's a textbook left-handed drive, a right-handed drive to the left-handed shot. Van Denahan, 2 goals already.
And you saw the change in defense. Ginter was on him that time. They may have made that change you talked about. Zeller was off, Ginter was on, didn't make much difference. At 6'1", he's got good body size to protect the ball. Face-off, Virginia leading in that category, 3-1 at this point, early in the game. Hopkins with a 2-1 lead. They were down 1-0 before they just scored 2. Denahan scoring both. Watson, the only goal for Maryland until this time. They can score from so many different spots. Virginia ties it up at 2. Curry, an interesting story coming to this program from Gettysburg, doing a great job on the offensive end.
And he is a streaky shooter, and he's on fire right now. He had 5 goals versus Harvard, and this is his first shot today. Curry finds the seam in the zone. Seemed like Hopkins, they were in their zone there, but they didn't react well to where Curry was positioned. Then you could hear that ball ping the pipe, beating Marcus. Curry, the Gettysburg transfer, grew up in New Canaan, Connecticut, and actually picked the Virginia program because one of the Virginia assistant coaches, Mark Murphy, is also from the New Canaan area.
Hopkins again doing a nice job here in the faceoff. They're about even right now, 3-2 in favor of Virginia. Game tied at 2. The scary part, if you're a Virginia fan, Quint, is that everything they've thrown at the goal has had no problem going in so far. They're patient with their attack, and Sanderson has not gotten comfortable yet. Virginia wants to be aggressive defensively. And as we've mentioned, that's going to cause maybe some fouls and maybe some open shots if Hopkins can get past it. This is Warner Kruger.
They would like to force the action. They want to give up 2 goals to generate 3 offensively. They'd like to win this game 18-15. Tony Seaman, on the other hand, for Hopkins, wants to win this game 3-2. And if he gets up by a goal, he's just going to take his time.
A little cat and mouse game going here. So you see Hopkins continually try to find the short stick, and Virginia switching up to put the pole back on the offensive player. Lacrosse, you only have a stick that's shorter than a required length and then a longer stick. So you're basically, there's no in between. You're either an offensive length stick or a defensive length stick. Here comes Virginia. They love the transition, but Hopkins is back in. Watson up top. Big play there by Hopkins to get back in position. It was Brian Kuzmo that fell back in there. We heard Tony Seaman talk about dropping in the hole, and they certainly did, Quint. They had 4 defensive players there before 3 offensive players could get in position.
Yeah, it's real important that they substitute in and out of the box efficiently, and offensively they got to balance up. When Denahan takes that shot, they've got to get back. Their midfielders have got to get straight back to defense.
Doug Knight takes a really poor angle shot. No angle at all. Marcus just seals up the left side. Easy save.
And again, the location. Marcus is so tough at his feet. I think he got a better chance of scoring on John Marcus in the upper portions of the cage.
And knowing that he likes to go down to make that save, a little fake low and then shoot high might be pretty effective. Of course, these guys know that. They've watched him play. 2-2 the score right now. 1:48 left in the first quarter. Semi-final action from Byrd Stadium at College Park. ESPN2's exclusive coverage of Division I finals. Winner of this goes against Princeton. That'll be on ESPN Monday. It's going to be 10:55. Brad Hoig, defensive player coming in.
Hoig is one of the best short stick defensive specialists in the country. Excellent speed and strength. Knows his defensive game. He's not the matchup you want.
Hopkins trying to get position. This is Marchand, who has great speed. Has been injured also for most of the year. Now he's pretty healthy. Look at him come in, takes the shot, and Sanderson getting a little more comfortable. When he did not look comfortable early, but he's getting his feet under him now. 2 good saves from Sanderson the last 2 shots.
Yes, Sanderson is mentally tough. This is Mahoney overplaying Marchand. When Milford Marchand scoops this ball on the sideline, you got to get in. You got to give him some yardage because he'll run right by you, as he just did on that last play.
Marchand known for having tremendous speed, with holding the ball. If you hold the ball in the stick against your chest, you'll lose possession, and that's what happened to Hopkins there as they bring it down now for Virginia. Brad Hoig gives it off to Watson, dips it down low to Whiteley all the way across, looking to move the ball. Knight looking for the crease. Knight beating 2 players with no angle. He beats Marcus. This is what Knight has done all year. He's got such acrobatic moves. He'll lay his body into the crease area and find the net somehow.
There is no one better at making this shot than Doug Knight. Watch it again. Takes the check, ducks down, and then lunges across the face of the cage. That's the second dive goal we've seen. This is a great angle right here. You see him lean inside. Marcus comes out to play him, but he manages to get his stick around him. We've seen Knight do that play time and time again, and you wonder how he does it.
Not much to shoot at unless you extend yourself. When you extend yourself, you triple the size of the goal. 3-2, Virginia in the lead. Brad Hoig gets the face-off. Controlling for Virginia. And this is what you have to fear if you're a Hopkins coach like Tony Seaman, Quint. You don't want this team getting on a roll. You don't want them to follow up a great goal with a possession, because they can put the numbers together just like a Syracuse or a Princeton. Watson, bounce pass. I haven't talked about it much, but I want to talk about it. The bounce pass is a part of the offensive arsenal.
Well,
5 seconds left in the first quarter.
This field is in great shape, but the bounce pass, I don't think will work, because the crown of this field is so severe that when that ball bounces, it's really going to take a tough hop. The consistency of the bounce pass certainly not there. I don't think we'll see any more out of Michael Watson.
Definitely saw an irregular pass there, and it probably just also depends on where you literally bounce it, because it is not a true AstroTurf surface. This will end the first quarter of play. Virginia got the 1-0 lead. Hopkins came back with 2, and then Virginia came back to 2 of their own, Curry and Knight, to take the 1-goal lead at the end of the first quarter. Hopkins controlled the tempo, did, I think, pretty much what they had to do in that first quarter.
Yeah, they did a nice job of controlling the ball, extending their possessions, but Virginia did a nice job against the Hopkins zone defense. That's an area that they've had problems this year, scoring against the zone defense. They didn't seem to have problems in the first quarter. Take a look at some of the stats. Shots, exactly even. Ground balls, Hopkins with the advantage by 2. And face-offs, Virginia doing an excellent job against Werner Kruger, the standout for the Blue Jays.
And we see right now Kruger in the game with the ball, and he'll be matched up against the long stick of Weingrad. Kruger with a big offensive show last week. I think Tony Seaman's got some confidence in the win.
Well, Kruger has always been able to score goals, had 11 goals last season. He's had injury problems this year, and that's why he hasn't seen the field very much. He missed 4 games. In those games, Hopkins had a record of 2-2. So they certainly need Kruger to win faceoffs and maybe get a goal or 2.
Godfrey against Hoig, and Quinn, as you talked about, this is Marchand behind him, isolating the short sticks behind the goal. Melchioni now defending Marchand. Marchand's got great speed, so maybe they want to circle him up top where he can get a little bit of a run. Here he goes from behind. Melchioni stays with him. Marr now comes out. He's getting dragged by Smith. Marr, the true leader on the offensive end, comes in, bounce, shot, somehow with the right hand gets it through Sanderson. And Marr owning that side, 3-3 the score.
Marr is a guy who hasn't scored a goal in 3 games. People have been doing a nice job against Dave Marr, but today he looks focused to go to the goal for himself, usually a feeder. He's got 38 assists on the season, but that's goal number 15. Nice inside roll. Remember, he's a right-hander. He'll dodge up here left, switch to his right, finishing between the legs of Sanderson. You know, Hopkins, they're attacking the short sticks right there, though. Marr going against Tommy Smith, and earlier Denahan going against Zeller. Those are the matchups I like. Because I think Melchioni and Hoig are excellent short stick defenders for Virginia. I take the long sticks. I get the ball to Denahan and Marr and force the corners. Make Tommy Smith and Carl Zeller play quality defense.
And they are playing aggressive defense. And a guy like Marr, you're going to probably attack his hands, play him aggressively, not thinking he's going to go to the goal as much as speed. That puts you maybe in a bad position. Marr certainly taking the game to Smith early on.
Right side.
He had 1 goal that was called back because he was in the crease. That one sticks. It's 3-3 right now. Plenty of time left in the second quarter. There's Timmy Whiteley, number 14, waiting for the ball to be whistled back into play. He'll have possession. 154 assists this season. Is an ACC, not an ACC record. I believe it's a Virginia record. He's number 1 in the record books for Virginia. Shot from up top, way over the goal of Marcus, but backed up.